Hour number 2 officially underway right here on the early line. Sirius XM channel 159 on the SportsGrid network. Joe Ranieri and Donnie Rightside. You want the NFL? You want college basketball? You want golf? We have you covered in this hour here. So, Joe, let's get right into this. Sometimes I love what the NFL does. Sometimes I hate what the NFL does. But I love the sport, love to bet it, love to watch it, just like we all do. This is one of those rulings where I say to myself, what are we actually doing? And to keep the people updated, the hip drop tackle, the competition committee has unanimously voted on it, and it's going to be in this year, which means that if you use a quote-unquote hip drop tackle, it will be a 15-yard penalty, and you'll be getting a FedEx envelope to your locker probably that Monday or Tuesday morning for the player there is. Here's what I always like to see. The NFL Players Union, which always sticks up for the players. They want better turf. They want better salaries. I understand that. When the NFLPA goes, we don't want this ruling implemented, it doesn't make any sense to our players, which includes some of the players that are getting hurt. I tend to think, what are the NFL owners doing? Unanimous support, an undefeated vote here. I can't stand this ruling, Joe. How about you?
You know, Donnie, they released the NFL released an actual video showing the examples of what they're talking about, right? And I'm sorry, it looks like a tackle. It looks like anybody. It looks like any. You know, they're acting as if everybody on the defense is twice the size of the offensive players, and they're trying to protect these small little offensive players. If you are, I don't know, a defensive back at 195 trying to stop a Mark Andrews or a Kelsey who's twice as, like, how does that work? Like, what are you supposed to do here? I think it's absolutely horrific for the game.
You're watching and listening live to the Early Line on a Tuesday morning edition. It's Joe, it's Donnie here, breaking down the hottest topics across the sports landscape. Welcome to the radio audience, Sirius XM channel 159. And let's get back to this, because you're so right. The clips that they were showing here, you're saying to yourself, what do you want the defenders to do? Now, way back in the day when Roy Williams played for the Dallas Cowboys, what he would do is sprint up to a player, and instead of tackling him, let me put my two hands into your nameplate here and into your shoulder pads and jump on the back of your legs in hoping to snap your legs on the way to do it. Terrell Owens got caught up in that, and in the offseason, they banned the horse collar tackle, and nobody complained about that. But when you're in the NFL and you are a defensive back or a linebacker, and let's just say a seam route by a tight end, and he's in front of you by 2 or 3 yards, they're basically telling you, Joe, you can't tackle that guy. Just let him run 40 more yards for a touchdown, because if you use your weight to bring him down, they're going to say it's a hip drop tackle. I can't stand this move, and you know what's coming next, Joe. You're going to have a ticket in your hand to win a football game and or your favorite team. It's 3rd and 11. The other team doesn't get the first down, but the wide receiver was tackled by a quote-unquote hip drop tackle, a first down ensues, your team loses, your bet loses, and we get angry. Let the fun ensue. But the NFL's not done here. A lot of rule changes coming to fruition, which includes the NFL improving, giving a third challenge to a team if they get only one of their first 2 correct, as opposed to 2, which was the previous rule. I understand we want to get the games right, but you could see 6 challenges a game now stepping in, and also the referees ruling by themselves on what was a catch, what isn't a catch, and what the ruling is. More stoppages. Get ready for more commercials, Joe.
Yeah, it's and more time. And I thought they were trying to speed the game up. Wasn't that what the consensus was a year ago? Like, we want to make sure the game goes fast. Oh, okay. Well, now you're back to slowing the game down and getting more ad revenue. It's getting to be a slippery slope here with this with these rule changes, because now what are they, 2 more rule changes away from just throwing flags out there on guy and just rip his flag off instead, and you'll be good to go. I mean, if I'm a defensive player, I'm trying to figure out how in the world does the game protect me? Exactly, because every rule you come out with protects the offensive side of the ball. So if you want every game to get 50 points or our teams to get 50 points, then just say that at this point.
It's almost like you're headed down professional boxing, right? You know what happens when you step into the ring. Like, over the past 20 years, they haven't said, okay, put headgears on the pros, put rib protectors and flak jackets on. It's just really about points here. Like, what are we getting to in 20 years? It's going to be VR football, virtual reality, where the superstars just play in a contained environment, through their own lenses and nobody gets hurt, but you just see the game play out on the field. It's pretty wild because football, after all, still has to be football. And nobody was asking for this, including the players themselves here. So we'll see some of those moves as they go forward. Here's another move that could be on the horizon. And quite frankly, I don't really understand this unless the price point is correct. It's Odell Beckham Jr. You saw last year. I mean, you want to talk about the biggest theft in the NFL. It was Odell getting about $15 million guaranteed for the Ravens to do absolutely nothing during the regular season and even less of anything in the playoffs here. So now apparently the Miami Dolphins want him as a third wide receiver and have made an offer to Odell Beckham, but he has not committed to that offer just yet. Number one, if the price is right, meaning a veteran minimum, I don't have any issues with this. But if we're talking about the Dolphins who are cash-strapped, losing player after player, like, yeah, let's give Odell Beckham 1 year's $10 million. I'm going to lose it on that Dolphins franchise, Joe.
Yeah, rough sledding here. And the ironic part here, Don, is they've lost a lot on the defensive side, and they still got to figure out what they're going to do with Tua. And even, listen, if I'm Odell and I have options, which inevitably he will, and because he continues to get them, Donnie, it's kind of laughable here. But, you know, if Tyreek convinces him that this is the place you want to go, we'll see what happens. But something tells me maybe that's the best they can get, I think, because I don't know in circles in the NFL with receivers how truly believable Tua is as a franchise quarterback.
Let me ask you this quick question, too, because rules might be voted on again today with the new kickoff rule, Joe. You're probably familiar with what they're talking about, more of that XFL kickoff.
Terrible.
But see, I'm glad you said that because I actually like it. And I'm usually with you, a hater of everything that changes here. But quite frankly, there's two opinions. My opinion is, to be honest, special teams should just go away in the NFL. You want to keep field goal kicking? Okay, I'm okay with that. But punts, just move it 45 yards down the field. We say, okay, it's third down. We're not punting. Just move it 45. The kickoff is ridiculous at this point. Like, just take it away and put the ball at the 25. But if they're not going to do that, I actually like this kickoff rule here. I do.
Well, see, I'm the other way. Like, I think that it's a part of the game, all right? Technically, it's no different than any other play in the game, right? If I'm lining up to punt the ball, I have to snap the ball, I have to punt the ball, I have to catch the ball, and everything else will take care of itself here. Trying to, and I agree with you with the kickoffs, if you're going to kick them through goalposts and kick field goals on the kickoff, then maybe we need to come up with something else. But I'd love, what do we do with the squib kicks? What do we do with those?
Take them out.
What do we do with onside kicks?
Kickers have no place in this game. And by the way, it wasn't too long ago where the NFL was moving the kickoffs back to ensure we got more returns, only to get sued by concussions here. PGA Tour up next. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
He's not in the low block.
Hey,
he's on the wing.
Yeah, but he's back.
He pounds in. He's throwing elbows, too.
That's a man move.
That's a grown man move, but he's throwing elbows. The steal. The foul. No call. No call.
But look
the
who
Silver
won.
Fox missed another one. The humanity.
In the corner, Caleb Love, the arms are up. Come on, I haven't had a touch in a minute.
25.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Betting in game, there's a big difference, right? Like the computer changes the number so often. Like, I tried to get this in right now, but in reality, as I saw plus 165 in the arena, they're hitting the shot, and I'm getting this like a couple of seconds late. And even the sports book, like, technology can only travel so fast.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats in fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game time decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the
All
rim.
I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart team.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if they're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
In-game live, prime time.
Back-to-back, just utterly stinker quarters.
In-game live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Hour number 2 underway, rolling along. We just talked a little bit of college basketball, some NFL updates, a little NBA action, but it's hot on the PGA Tour right now, and that's what we need to talk about. I'm Donnie Rightside, he's Joe Ranieri, and as we welcome in Keith Stewart, our PGA pro, right here on the SportsGrid Network. Keith, how's life treating you there?
Hey, good morning on a Tuesday. It's treating me about as good as a winner with a bucket hat and a yellow golf ball on Sunday, starting the week at 400-1. I mean, where these guys are coming from, I don't know. They don't come from LIV. Maybe they're coming from the Champions Tour these days. But, man, anybody can win on the PGA Tour at this point.
I used to say this, Keith, as we lined up on a Sunday. Any given Sunday, anybody can win. Apparently, on the PGA Tour, that is correct, because last Sunday, Peter Malnati, -12, shoots a 67 and takes the win down. And talking with Joe and you over the break, it's like, who is this guy?
Well, you know, it's funny. This guy serves on the PAC, which is the Players Advisory Council. So he's on this board with Adam Scott and Tiger Woods and Jordan Spieth. And he's in the Bahamas, and he's meeting with Liv and Yasser and everything. I think all these guys have rubbed off on Peter Malnati. All of a sudden, this guy believes in himself. He played great at Pebble in a signature event that he got into basically because he was on the PAC. He played great at the Players, and now all of a sudden he wins the Valspar. I think there's something to be said for sitting in meetings in the Bahamas with Tiger and Yasser.
Yeah, I agree. Or you get even better, like, hey, thanks so much for showing up on a Sunday there. Some of the guys that can't close on Sunday are got to be driving you and the PGA crazy, because these are big-name guys. Xander Schauffele, you shoot 65 this Sunday, and if you shot that last Sunday, you win. It's amazing to me how the PGA Tour has gotten so, I don't want to say parody, but is it parody, really, outside of a handful of guys?
Well, I tell you what, outside of Scotty, and I'm sure we'll get to him in a moment and what the heater that he is on, it seems like these guys that we know all the names. I mean, Justin Thomas, he was in position to win, and the weekend he just completely ejected from the tournament. Xander shows up, shoots 65 on Sunday, and he backdoors a nice top 10, but like, I mean, do you want to be a backdoor man? I mean, he's got to step up. And at the end of the day, I mean, quite honestly, I mean, you look at the names at the top. I mean, poor Cam Young. Joe, take a breath. Take a breath. I mean, poor Cam Young. Seven runner-ups.
Show right there, man. It's a bad clip.
I mean, Cam Young was in perfect position to close on the snake bit. It's a snake pit, and he got snake bit. I mean, it just, at the end of the day, maybe Jay Monahan made a deal with the devil. I don't know. But you know what? Live at the end of the day. I mean, they don't even play golf. I mean, John Rahm is over there, and he's like, geez, I missed some of these tournaments that I would have loved to have defended this year. I mean, we're all leading up to Augusta in a couple of weeks. I'll be down there, and I can't wait to see all of this come together. There's going to be a lot of heat there down at Magnolia Lane.
Oof.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun to watch it play out. But you're right about that. Like, what do we like to watch on a Sunday? The best golfers in the world playing on the same course against each other. Now you have two rival factions with half the superstars. One league nobody watches. The other league lost half its superstars. Maybe the Masters, we can work it all out. But before we get there in about 2 weeks, we got the Texas Children's Houston Open this week. And it looks like it's a 7,400-yard course. It's a par 70 down in Houston. I always like to set the table with this, Keith. Give us a look at what this course is going to offer this weekend on the PGA Tour.
Well, Donnie, this is a big boys ballpark, and the owner of the Houston Astros put a lot of money into this public golf course there in Memorial Park. Par 70 at 7,400 yards, and we have 5 par 3s. I mean, this thing, it's got 5 par 4s over 490, 3 par 5s. They average almost 600 yards. You need length to win here. You look at the 3 winners that we've had: Carlos Ortiz, Jason Kokrak, Tony Finau, all guys that hit the ball long. And you also have to pay attention to this. Most people think this is a new event on the PGA Tour. It's not. It was played in the fall over the last couple of years, so it got moved to March. We have a big agronomy change that's going on. In the fall, it was all Bermuda grass. Now, this time of year, down there in Houston, they overseeded with a bunch of Poa Trivialis on the greens, rye for the rough. Now, this place is going to play firmer and faster than it has before. So as you look at these power players, you also have to pay attention to that around the green skill, because this place is kind of like, the upside down salad bowl where the greens run off of the chipping areas and everything. And it definitely, favors a certain type of player that can bomb it off the tee and that can also score on the greens. Those 3 winners, they've gained over an average of 7 strokes on the field with their flat stick.
All right, well, you mentioned it, right? Is anybody starting? Is it going to stop Scotty? Who else can win this tournament? Because he's already proven if he's on, good luck trying to catch him here.
Well, it's interesting. When you look at the boards, he opened the week at plus 300, and his number's gone down, which means that the books are taking action on this guy. And honestly, I mean, here's what here. I know we're having fun this morning, but we got to pump the brakes for a second, right? Scotty Scheffler at plus 275 to win a golf tournament. I mean, it was just a couple of months ago that the putter didn't work, and the guy top 5s and everything and never closes. I get that he's great. But, I mean, come on. All these comparisons that I'm hearing about his ball striking and Tiger Woods and all of that, just to give you guys a reference, I mean, we can compare the strokes gained. But you want to talk about odds here on the SportsGrid, right? This is a betting channel. When you go back in the day, and I remember these days, back when Tiger was at his prime, let's look at the 2007-2008 run, where he closes 2007. He plays 6 events and wins 5 of them. The one he doesn't win, he's a runner-up. So he starts 2008 at the Buick, which is at Torrey Pines, what we call the Farmers Insurance Open now. He was even money at that tournament to win. He comes back at the match play. He's plus 200. Tiger Woods goes to Bay Hill that year. He's minus 110 to win against a full field. Not a Bay Hill this year with 69 guys. He's minus 110. He went into the Masters that year plus 130. I know Scotty's under plus 500. Some books have him plus 490, plus 450 at the Masters, right? Scotty's great and all, but hey, let's just pump the brakes on the Tiger Woods talk. Will Scotty win again this week? I think there's a decent chance that somebody like Wyndham, or maybe even a young star like Sahith Theegala at the top of the board could do some damage. I mean, it's tough to win every week on the PGA Tour.
No, it certainly is. And by the way, Scotty's like a machine. I mean, always up top here, always getting crazy odds. But at the FanDuel Sportsbook, the best part about it is they do have a market that says winner without Scotty Scheffler, which Wyndham Clark is a 10-1 price. Theegala is a 14-1. In your mind here, if we remove Scotty from the equation, who are some of these golfers we should keep an eye on over the next 4 days?
I mean, the early leans I have on the early line, it starts with Wyndham Clark. And a lot of guys say, well, he's a big game hunter, Keith. He wants the big events. He wants to beat Scotty. If you just finished runner-up to Scotty in 2 big events, you know this guy wants to take him down. I already said you need power and you need the putter. Wyndham has both. Sahith Theegala, The short game, his number started the week at plus 2,500. He's already down at plus 2,000. Everybody loves him because he's also hitting the ball great. 6th at API, 9th at the Players. And then one more name for you, Kashmir Keith Mitchell. This guy drives the ball great, and you have to do that well at Memorial Park Golf Course. Now, I'm going to tempt you even more. Before the Valspar, he came in at 40-1. Well, he's 40-1 again this week. Last week at the Valspar, he was 3rd tee to green. So he's striking the ball absolutely fantastic. If the putter pops up even just a little down there at Memorial Park, Kashmir Keith, he's going to be buying new sweaters, and we all are if we have him on our ticket.
How about that? By the way, we're expecting a good golf tournament this week. Of course, Scotty Scheffler is the heavy favorite. In 2 weeks, Keith, we will be at Augusta. Talk to me the preparation for some of these golfers as they ramp their game up to play in the Masters.
Well, I love this choice of a golf course leading up to, more so than I like the Valero next week. This place is long, and so is Augusta National. The average par 4 here is like 460 yards. So it's the same thing at Augusta. It's a second shot golf course, long approaches over 200 yards. I think the guys that you see do well this week, right, like a Wyndham Clark, that's plus 3,100 going into the Masters, get him as a futures bet now, because if he closes this week, that number is going to get cut in half when we get to Magnolia Lane.
Keith Stewart, our resident PGA pro right here on the Sports Grid Network, bringing that heat for the PGA Tour. We'll be right back to talk much more college basketball.
Look where he is. He's not in the low block.
Hey,
he's on the wing.
Yeah, but he's back.
He pounds in. He's throwing elbows, too.
That's a man move.
That's a grown man move, but he's throwing elbows. The steal. The foul. No call. No call.
Look
The
who
Silver
won.
Fox missed another one. The humanity.
In the corner, Caleb Love, the arms are up. Come on, I haven't had a touch in a minute.
25.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Betting in game, there's a big difference, right? Like the computer changes the number so often. Like I tried to get this in right now, but in reality, as I saw plus 165 in the arena, they're hitting the shot, and I'm getting this like a couple of seconds late. And even the sports book, like technology can only like travel so fast.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats in fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game time decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the
All
rim.
I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart Team.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if they're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
In-game live, prime time.
Back-to-back, just utterly stinker quarters.
In-game live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want bracketology? You came to the right place right here on the early line. Is Joe Ranieri and Donnie Rightside going to break it all down? We did take a look earlier at the East bracket and also the West bracket, but now we're going to flip it over to the South bracket and line this up. And I love chalk. I love the chalk advancing in the tournament because the matchups are going to be tremendous here, Joe. You take a look here in the South, lining up for this weekend. Houston versus Duke. Number 1 seed versus number 4 seed. NC State, a surprise from the ACC, as the 11 seed is going to take on Marquette. If we're just looking at the price points to start off here, Houston is a plus 100 now to win this region. Marquette is a 2-1 price. The Duke Blue Devils, a plus 350, and the NC State Wolfpack at a 14-1 price. Let's start here with Houston. No surprise for me, easily beating Longwood by 40 points in the opener, and looked like they were going to cruise to a victory against Texas A&M, but a late collapse ends up in a couple overtimes, and Houston, despite multiple players fouling out, advances to take on Duke. But I got to tell you something, again, with my ACC bias, I guess, against I didn't think it was a great conference, a nice win to open up against Vermont from Duke. They crushed James Madison, one of those teams a lot of people picked as a 12 seed for multiple upsets here. Talk to me about the Duke Blue Devils as a 4 seed lining up against Houston this week.
Yeah, well, it's a fascinating matchup here. And I do think some of these matchups now here in the Sweet 16 could very well prove to be better than some of the things that we get coming up moving forward here. But Duke is a pretty good matchup for Houston. Filipowski, pretty much capable of dominating anybody, including, Houston here. I think they got with Jeremy Roach, McCain, Proctor, they have some of the best guards in there that will not be overpowered. They are a legit three-headed monster in the backcourt, much like what Houston is. The only difference is Houston might have some a little more experience here. It's the style of play, which is going to be fascinating to me, right? Houston is the best defensive team in the nation, which is why having that many fouls called against them was kind of head-scratching in that game against A&M, because they have spent the year as a top 10 team in not getting fouled on defense, of not committing those fouls, and yet they were whistled every time they turned around here. I think Cryer is the guy that we got to focus on for Houston. I think if he is the guy that takes over this game, which I think he will, the kid Emmanuel Sharp proved to be pretty darn good coming into his own, did he not here? Jamal Sheed there was one of the only guys left on the court late in that game. And I was trying, Donnie, to figure out, was it a good thing or a bad thing, the way they had to win that game and go, does this propel them against Duke, or are they exhausted, mentally shot, and wiped out? And I don't think they are. I'm like you. I think Houston will be too much in this game for Duke, who has not been in this spot, it feels like, in a hot minute.
Yeah, the ratings should be great for that, but it's a good point you bring up, Joe, because my whole thought process on, we've all been in locker rooms being on teams. What does the coach always say? Guys, when you go out there, you're going to face adversity, and how do you handle that adversity? I love the fact that Houston had an easy win, almost let it slip away, and had to dig down deep in extra overtime periods to win that game, because I always think the coach then, that following week, Joe, has the advantage with his players and says, look, you want to let it slip away, you almost did it. Don't let it happen again. I love to see it. It's like when you talked about the Boston Celtics, right, returning the favor. We just got beat in a game we're up 30. Watch when we're up 30 the next game. We'll turn that into a 45-point win as opposed to an actual outright loss in that environment. Let's flip it to the bottom of the bracket here, because I'm so intrigued by this Marquette team. Pre-flop before the tournament, which means before we saw Selection Sunday, I said to myself, boy, I would love to bet Marquette, because if I can guarantee that Kolek is healthy, my superstar point guard, we are going to be hell on wheels in this tournament. But we all know, Joe, you get what you deserve sometimes. You're taking a flyer that he is going to be healthy and playing at one of the Big East's best players throughout the regular season. You bet Marquette, you watch game number 1, he plays 10 minutes. You watch game number 2, he's ineffective in 20 minutes, and Marquette gets beat. That's not the case. Kolek has been really good here. Talk to me about Marquette and moving forward, because quite frankly, I don't think they were going to look at playing a team like NC State in the Sweet 16, but now taking a team on NC State on an unbelievable streak here, Joe.
Yeah, and I was kind of with you there. I was a little shaky on Marquette because I didn't know. I mean, Kolek hasn't played in a month, right? He was banged up, and then we heard that even if he does go, he wasn't going to be 100%, and he's still dealing with the oblique injury. So, you can still see him wincing at times out on the court there. It doesn't help, of course, that, Colorado took him to the wire. I mean, that was a tremendous game and a very tough Colorado team. But NC State has shown, I mean, listen, at this point in the tournament, Donnie, I don't want to hear about, they're lucky to get here. Luck has got nothing to do with it. If you make it to the Sweet 16, you've earned your way here. And they especially having to win 5 games straight, beat North Carolina in the championship game, and then beat a pretty tough Big 12 Texas Tech team, do it against Oakland in overtime. They deserve to be here, and they're not going to be an easy out. But the thing that amazed me is that Kolek is the best point guard in this tournament, bar none. And that's saying something because there's a lot. I was worried that, all of these kids have been, playing without him. Like, what's it going to be like when he gets in there now? Is it going to screw everything up? Well, no, it didn't. And I think him being out, Donnie, allowed those other kids to step up and get all of that confidence. This is a team that is a very dangerous team who, if it comes down to the ball in Kolek's hands, Marquette's winning the game.
Yeah, I love them. They're tough, and I like the Big East all season long. Thought they got shafted a little bit at the end. Didn't get enough teams in there. Maybe a Seton Hall should have snuck in there, and a couple of other teams, but it didn't happen. But certainly, Marquette is a team to watch out for with Kolek back from his injury. Let's go down to the Midwest here, which that's the Purdue bracket, people, who we thought probably had the easiest path to victory to get to the Final Four. As it shapes up, it's an awesome region again. You take a look at Purdue, going to face the number 5 seed, Gonzaga Bulldogs. And on the bottom of the bracket, it's Creighton, the 3rd seed, versus Tennessee, the number 2 seed. If we line them up odds-wise to win this region, Purdue's a plus 120 price, Tennessee is a 210 price, Creighton a plus 450, and Gonzaga sitting at a 5-1. Let's start at the top of that bracket with Purdue. For me, coming into the tournament, I didn't think Purdue would get knocked out early like they did 2 out of the past 3 years. Crushed Grambling as it was supposed to, but maybe the best Purdue game, Joe, I've seen in maybe 25 years, a 106-67 beatdown of a decent Utah State team, which finds them matching up against Gonzaga here. Talk to me about Purdue and your trust level moving forward now that they've made it to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, right? Purdue has been at the top of the conversation and at the top of the, standings all year long. They've either been 1, 2, 3, some combination there. Gonzaga is interesting because, a lot of people weren't very high on the Zags this season. They didn't think, they thought maybe the era was over for Mark Few. And they were proven right there early on, Donnie, weren't they? I mean, because it didn't look great for them the first half of the season, but it really did turn around for them the minute they took on Kentucky and beat Kentucky. And then from that point on, something flipped with this team here. Nembhard, Hickman, this is a team there Graham, you've got some guys on this team that are playing the best basketball of the season. They're top 10 offensive efficiency. This is by far the toughest matchup, I think, for Purdue here. If Purdue's able to get past this, I think Purdue's home sailing here to, a Final Four, if not possibly a shot in the championship. But I do not think it is going to be as easy as it has been thus far for Purdue here with Zags.
Yeah, the West Coast Conference teams each got 5 seeds there. St. Mary's got bounced in round number 1 against Grand Canyon. Had a similar matchup here with Gonzaga in round number 1 against a 12-seed McNeese, which a lot of people thought McNeese would be able to do damage. Gonzaga was fantastic in that game. A team that shoots the three-point shot well but doesn't rely on it. They got wide open look after wide open look and buried it here. And then moving forward, pounding Kansas. Now, most people didn't have Kansas moving forward because McCullers was out with the injury. We didn't know we'd get out of Hunter Dickinson. That game was very close in the first half, and Gonzaga was phenomenal in the second half. So Gonzaga playing their best basketball of the season going up against Purdue. On the bottom side of that bracket, I love this matchup. It's Creighton and Tennessee. Creighton, we know, very efficient on offense. Tennessee is going to bring that defense here. Tennessee gets through after beating St. Peter's and Texas. Creighton finds their way after beating Akron and Oregon. And by the way, winning an overtime game by 13 points is pretty incredible to cover a ticket there. Tough scene for the Oregon backers. But Creighton and Tennessee, what are you getting out of that game here, Joe, coming up?
To me, it's a coin flip game. I can't think of two teams I trust less right now than those two, simply because If the threes aren't falling against one another, then it's a coin flip game here. And Creighton should have lost to Oregon in many aspects. And I don't know how Tennessee going, 4 for 120 in their game was able to get by is beyond me. So, kudos. You won those games without playing your best. But it also, as a bettor, Donnie, I have no idea what I'm going to get from these two teams against one another. Tennessee is going to bring the defense. And if the threes aren't falling for Creighton, yikes. Good luck here. This is going to be an interesting one.
Hey, it's a good call because the top of the bracket, like Purdue playing great basketball, Gonzaga playing great basketball. Bottom of the bracket, you saw that Tennessee 62-58 win over Texas. Like, hey, what's going on here? And then again, Creighton blew that lead, should have lost, should have won, should have lost, goes to double overtime and wins by 13 points in that game. So a lot more question marks. You're right about that region, but certainly as we look all the way through, again, I love the fact that we're looking forward to these Sweet 16 and elite matchups here with the big boys still in play. It's so much fun to handicap, but still a few days away. But you're not going to be disappointed on Thursday and Friday when you're seeing multiple games on your TV with the heavyweights going toe-to-toe. Certainly can't wait for that to play out. But we even got some more NCAA college basketball talk to talk about. Because if you do cut down the nets, who will be the MOP, most outstanding player? Joe and I will talk about that next. Don't go anywhere.
Look where he is. He's not in the low block.
Hey, this is
he's on the wing.
Yeah, but he's back.
He pounds in. He's throwing elbows, too.
That's a man move.
That's a grown man move, but he's throwing elbows. The steal. The foul. No call. No call.
Look
The
who it
Silver
was.
Fox missed another one. The humanity.
In the corner, Caleb Love, the arms are up. Come on, I haven't had a touch in a minute.
25.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
The betting in-game, there's a big difference, right? Like the computer changes the number so often. Like, I tried to get this in right now, but in reality, as I saw plus 165 in the arena, they're hitting the shot. And I'm getting this like a couple of seconds late. And even the sports book, like, technology can only travel so fast.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats in fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game time decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the
All
rim.
I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart Team.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if they're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
In-game live, prime time.
Back-to-back, just utterly stinker quarters.
In-game live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Who's ready for more breaking news? You know we love to bring you instant impact when something happens. We got to talk about it here. As we told you early in the show, both Joe and I, the NFL's making some changes here. We talked about, okay, you get 3 challenges now. As long as you get one of the first 2 right, you get a third here. We talked about the hip drop tackle, which is disgusting, should not be put in, and will ruin the game. Now, granted, I like to take things to extreme, of course, but that's the way I feel about it right now. But we might have some different opinions coming up on the new kickoff rule. And by the way, was just voted on in the NFL and approved. So get ready opening night and preseason for your special teams angles to look a little bit different. Now, to start, you see the Adam Schefter tweet there. The NFL owners voted to approve the new kickoff rule. Now, if you don't know what that rule is, Joe Ranieri, let me explain, because a lot of people, including myself, don't watch a lot of XFL football, but I know how the kickoff works in that league. The ball will be placed for the kicker all by himself, Joe, on the 35-yard line. The kickoff start line will begin on the opposite 40-yard line for that team's special teams. So meaning, no longer will you see the kickers and the kicking team line up side by side. The kicker will be all by himself. There is a setup zone between the 30-yard line and the 35, leaving 5 yards in between the defensive special teams and the offensive special teams. Are you ready for this? There is also a landing zone between the 20-yard line and the goal line, which means that's where you have to kick the football. Now, the caveat here is nobody can move outside of the kicker kicking off until the ball is fielded in the landing zone and or hits the ground. Now, also, you're wondering, what about the touchbacks here? They kick it out of the end zone each and every time. There's a penalty for that, which you will start at the 35-yard line if there is a touchback. This play is designed to now have kick returns put back in the game. Joe Ranieri, did I lose you here in what I just explained?
No, but you forgot to mention the throw-up zone, which is what you're going to need after you actually see this thing executed. And you're going to be like, what in the hell? Is this like Pee-wee football? Like, what in the world am I watching here? The XFL did this, and it was just absolutely head-scratching with that. But it's the XFL, and you'd figure that, right? Well, of course. But yeah, no, I am not a big fan of this. I don't even know what this is. It looks so Bush League, it's not even funny. But hey, I guess you can't kick it out of the end zone now. And, congratulations, you'll get some run back. But it's absolutely the whole nuance of the kickoff is out the window here. So just keep it the way it is, because this looks absolutely ridiculous.
Like in the past, right? Because kickers, the play has evolved in the NFL and the athletes are getting better, which includes hey, he's lining up for a 55-yard field goal. And we go, that's a chip shot now. 20 years ago, 55-yard field goal, fire the coach. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, which granted, the kicker's legs are getting stronger and they repeatedly just punch the football out of the end zone. And it's almost like, all right, we sort of expected it now. So instead of the NFL saying, well, instead of kicking off from the 35, Joe, we'll move it back to the 20 and we'll guarantee kick returns all over the place. They don't want that because the concussion impact comes in because that play, quite dangerous where sprinters are running 4 or 5 40s for 40 yards and colliding. I understand that, and I'm okay with that here. I actually like the fact there's 2 choices, Joe, for me they could have made. I don't mind this new rule, and I say I'm a hater typically of all things new, and I should be hating this rule. But on the drawback here is I can't stand in the kickoff the way it stands right now. Something had to change. But if you would have told me on the table they could have voted for, Joe, you can have this kickoff or just remove the kickoff altogether and put the football on the 25-yard line, I probably would have rather them go that direction.
Yeah, it just looks so absurd. It really does. And again, you're changing, what has always been a pretty big aspect of the game. I think, Donnie, what they should do is just propose that every kickoff, regardless, after a score and a half, should have to be the onside type. And let's get down to it. Let's just line them up, let them onside kick it, and everybody we start right from the 50 and just cut half the field in half, right? And that's what basically they're doing here anyway. I'll believe it when I see it, but I don't think this is going to be something that fans are going to be enamored with or think is anything other than pretty gimmicky, and that's what it looks like.
By the way, a shout out like the NFL, and if you played in the past, high school football, whatever, Little League football, it used to be where you lined up for the onside kick, and it was like Braveheart out there. You had 3 or 4 guys, only design was to blow up the first wave of the team coming in and try to recover the football. It's no longer the case right now. It's really been neutered, and it's like 3% you get the onside kick now, which never should be the case, but again, for safety, this is why they're bringing in. Also, hey, Nike, if you're watching right now, you want some free advertisement, here's your campaign for the offseason. Devin Hester's going in the Hall of Fame. Just have him fake like he's making a comeback now that kick returns are back in football. There you go. Boom.
Yes.
$1 billion campaign. Boom. Send me 5% of that commission right here, right to the SportsGrid Network, care of Homedale, New Jersey. All right, let's get to some NCAA action here because the MOP, which means the most talented offensive player, why can't we just call it the MVP? I don't know. It's MOP in college basketball. Who is going to win that? It's no surprise. It's Zach Edey at the top of the leaderboard here at a plus 650 price. Donovan Clingan, the superstar, talented big man from UConn, he's at a 10-1 price, followed by Newton, Spencer, Love, Connect, and Davis. Let me just answer this right now. You look at, you're trying to say what makes the most sense here. Connecticut is a 210 favorite here to cut down the nets. Clingan is a plus 650 price. So if UConn wins and he wins it, it's better to take the MOP price. But it's a lot of talented players on that UConn team for me, Joe Ranieri. If I look and say to myself, Purdue is a 6-1 price to win it all, plus 650 it is for Edey to win. I got to tell you right now, Purdue's not winning this if Edey is not playing well throughout the remaining parts of this tournament, which include the Final Four and the final. So quite frankly, I actually would take Edey at a plus 650 price as opposed to Purdue at a 6-1 price. How about you on that?
Well, I mean, in theory, by the nature of what the award is, right? Those other teams on there and those guys, there could be other guys on there that have monster games which still allow the team to advance. I am with you. In Purdue, you don't have, if Zach Edey doesn't show up or if he's not on the court or whatever, they don't win. I could make the argument with, North Carolina, can make the argument with Tennessee, with Arizona, that there are other guys on that team that are capable of stepping up. This is a great team, but if you cut off the head of the snake, right? If Zach Edey ain't in the middle of it and part of it, you're not winning. So that alone to me makes him most valuable player, is it not?
It does. Imagine this. Let's just go to the final game, right? Purdue actually makes it. And Edey goes for 11 points and 9 rebounds. I'll tell you right now, Purdue just got blasted in the final game. But if Donovan Clingan goes to the final game and he has 11 points and 9 rebounds, I'm like, you know what? That's a decent game out of Clingan, and UConn probably wins going away at that point. So Edey, by me, far and away, is if I'm just betting for an MOP, if his team wins it, he should get it. But if we look at the other guys on the board, right, going down that list, RJ Davis is really interesting to me for UNC.
Yep.
Did you take a look at their price point? It's 13-1. For him to win MOP, it's 16-1. One of those great guards that you have that can take a game over, he can do that. And also give you those splash plays, hit multiple three-point shots, score a lot of points. Let's just say 25-plus points in a game. Also, Connect is a 16-1 price, and Tennessee is an 11-1 price to cut down the nets. When I want superstar talent, they're who I'm going to. Now, granted, I know Baycott's a good performer, and Tennessee has some other good players. But for those teams to win championships, much like Edey for me, Joe, they got to be superstars, and there is some value on RJ Davis and Dalton Connect for me.
No, there is, because those are the go-to guys there in order to be able to get it done. But we've seen, we've seen those two guys not have great games, and yet those teams still won. It's going to be much harder from this point forward from the Sweet 16, given the level of competition. You're going to need your stars to show up here, right? But I don't think a team needs a bigger star to show up for any chance than like Purdue does, because I don't see Purdue beating Gonzaga if Zach Edey doesn't show up and is not available. Don't see it.
Now,
I think it's going to have to be him or bust.
Have you ever had a process, because again, I don't think I'm going to be betting the MOP markets, but I'm telling you right now, that's going to be a tough beat. Like if you say to yourself, like, hey, look at this. I took Houston to win it all, who now sits at a 6-1 price. It used to be a plus 550, so going in the opposite direction because how strong Connecticut is.
Right.
I can't imagine me waking up on that Tuesday morning going like, I knew Houston would win, but I bet Shed at a 10-1 price here to win MOP. He doesn't win it. Right. I won no money, and Houston won it all. It's even the Edie thing. Like, it does make sense to take the plus 650 with Edie, but there is a chance, and a very small one, that Purdue can win. Edie plays okay, and somebody else steals the spotlight on that basketball team. There's got to be no worse beat than that, going like, well, I bet the MOP, even though I picked the team to actually win it. Will you ever go down that path saying, you know what, I'm not going to pick the winner here, Joe, and take their price point. I'm just going to take the guy who's going to win the MOP.
Well, and now let me ask you, is it correlated to whoever wins the championship? It has to come from that team?
Yes.
Or can...
Who else can be the MOP? Who else can actually do that? I don't think that's even going to happen. Can it?
Well, because it's for the whole tournament. It's not just, right? So, when you look at the body of work of what some of these guys have done, some of those guys on that list have already, not had great games. So, consistency matters too. And let's say, you lose on a buzzer beater in a championship game, but yet you were your numbers and everything else that you did prior to that point were phenomenal. Are you not giving it to a guy because he didn't win? I don't know. But Zach Edey feels like that's a kind of guy that can dominate everything and then gets beat by a last-second buzzer beater, or he blew. He's terrible. So I don't know. If it's correlated to the winner, if it's Houston, is it Sheed or is it LJ Cryer? That's the other problem that we have.
I got to tell you this on this one, which makes it interesting too, because it is a Final Four award, but so many times the people voting on it have different criteria, right, Joe? And I bring this up for good reason, because we see the NFL awards all the time. Like, well, what actually is a comeback player? If there's 100 people voting, you might have 75 different out of the 100. Like, I don't think it's that. I think it's this. Well, I don't think you actually had to play last year. Or if you had a medical emergency on the field and you came back, that's comeback player. Not if you actually make any tackles or have a big impact. And the reason I bring that up is you're going to get some people voting on a Final Four award that go, well, hold on now. Zach Edey was unbelievable up to the Final Four, and then was very average in the Final Four. But he's their best player. Let's just give it to him anyway. We see it all the time in the MVP of the Super Bowl. Like, well, he didn't have a great game. Somebody else had a little bit better game, but you're not going to give it to Patrick Mahomes. So there is a thought process behind that, which again leaves it up to subjectivity. The one thing that's not up to subjectivity is if Houston wins it, I know I just cashed my ticket. I don't want to wait 5 minutes after the game like, they better give it to Shed. They better give it to Shed. Oh, no, they gave it to somebody else who had an unbelievable Sweet 16 when that's not even factored into the Final Four.
Yes, but the influence of that, because you can't unsee and know what you know, and the perception is whether he's actually dominating or not, it's already dominating, and that's the whole thing. So what they do leading up into the Final Four is absolutely going to influence how they vote in that. And then you got to worry, because each team, I think, has two guys that are capable of winning that if it's just into the Final Four.
We see it all the time with these committees where they come out after the brackets released and they talk to us like, this guy just sounds like an idiot right now. Well, that's who's actually going to be voting on you put hard money on. Make sure you just keep it the champion here, people. We're going to go with a Fade the Public poll next. Number ones, baby. Keep that in mind. We'll be back.
Look where he is. He's not in the low block.
Hey,
he's on the wing.
Yeah, but he's back.
He pounds in. He's throwing elbows, too.
That's a man move.
That's a real man move, but he's throwing elbows. The steal. No foul. No call. No call.
But look
the
who
Silver
won.
Fox missed another one. The humanity.
Oh, in the corner, Caleb Love, the arms are up. Come on, I haven't had a touch in a minute.
25.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Betting in game, there's a big difference, right? Like the computer changes the numbers so often. Like, I tried to get this in right now, but in reality, as I saw plus 165 in the arena, they're hitting the shot, and I'm getting this like a couple of seconds late. And even the sports book, like, technology can only travel so fast.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats in fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game time decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the
All
rim.
I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart Team.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if they're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
In-game live, prime time.
Back-to-back, just utterly stinker quarters.
In-game live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Quick little segment here to end hour number 2 before we get to hour number 3. A lot of great guests, a lot more fun to be had. But as always, in this final pairing here, Joe Ranieri, of this 2-hour stretch, we like to head out to the people and see what they like. Fading the public is what we do here at our SportsGrid TV account on Twitter, on X. And the question posed to the public today, simple. Will all of the number 1 seeds make it to the 2024 Final Four? And if you take a look at the voting here, Joe, the no by a wide margin, maybe the biggest margin we've ever had here on a poll, close to 83% chiming in with the no. Yes, at 17%. And if we're looking at those number 1 seeds, Joe, they are as followed. UConn out of the East, North Carolina out of the West, Purdue out of the Midwest, and Houston out of the South. So I pose this question to you. By the time we end Sunday night and look forward to next weekend's Final Four, will we have all number 1 seeds there, Joe?
So, it has not been very profitable to fade the public so far during this tournament here, Donnie.
Oh.
The public has absolutely crushed it here through it. But that looked like an 80% no, 20% yes factor, and I would put it much closer to 50-50 with getting all 4 number 1s, because I would not be surprised if all 4 number 1s are there. So I will disagree with the public at this point. I think it's a lot closer to a 50-50 proposition.
Yeah, I think most people voted no based on what their bracket actually is reading, because I don't have all 4 number 1 seeds in. So I'm hoping they don't all get there, which means my bracket will be a mess, but also means that Houston is still involved in the process here, which I would like to see.
But you wouldn't be shocked, would you?
No, I would not be shocked. And quite frankly, if all number 1 seeds did show up there, I would like it. If they didn't, there's still some really good teams left in it. So it's not like, hey, a 16 seed made it all the way through, and we'll see what happens here. And by the way, shout out to people that made this poll. Ben Scott Stevens is listed on here, and he's got 3 capital letters. Your boy at Right Side VP, no capital letters here. And Joe Ranieri's not even listed in the poll here. No at all.
I get nothing. Nothing. Why am I here? Why am I here?
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.